welcome to the Bill Mason Show. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well. The Communist Party
Hmm.
has revealed itself. This is
Yes,
amazing.
yeah. A lot has happened since we've been on the show here.
Yep.
Couple of days. I mean, it's like the years gone by. I mean, it's crazy.
I didn't think that. I thought they would wait till at least that curmudgeon's hand went on the Bible and he was sworn in
Mm.
before they unleashed the banning and the free speech and the punishing dissidents. And, this is too much for me. This is communism rollout 101. I mean,
Yeah.
they have no fear of letting all of their plans out there. Like they're going to punish the president with 8 days left in his presidency. They're going after senators, putting them on the no-fly list. They're banning all conservatives from all media. I mean, this is like they don't care. It's communism.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just to let you know, and we're going to talk about the banning, all the stuff that's going on. What's going to happen this weekend? They're
Yeah.
saying a lot of stuff's going to happen. There's going to be false flags. We're going to talk about that. They were talking about China war, which is crazy stuff. So we're going to talk about that too as well. We're going to talk about the ban stuff first. We're going to switch, Bill. I know we talked about before about going
Mhm.
into the impeachment, but let's talk about the ban of what's going on. I mean, over 70,000 people were banned on Twitter alone.
Yep. And for one reason, and this is the craziest part of this whole thing, is it's not like they're choosing people who have threatened violence
Right.
on both sides. Because, Kathy Griffin's still there holding Trump's bloody head.
She's
But
still
they're
on there.
just choosing people who are conservative,
Yep.
not violent people or not militant people, because Black Lives Matter people are still up there posting with pictures of
Mhm.
guns and the Capitol behind them and all kind of stuff. So that's okay.
Yeah.
Conservatives not.
No, I mean, I reported somebody on Twitter. He said he wants to. They should shut all the Trump supporters that were
Yep.
at the Capitol, and they didn't do anything with him. He's still on Twitter.
He's fine. And I also saw there was another guy. He was on I want to say Instagram, saying that all it would have took that day was a bulldozer, and he could have cleared the Capitol steps in 30 seconds. So I mean, here's the weird line where they don't care anymore. Like we said last show, I think Facebook and Twitter and Google, they know what side they're on. It's the Communist Party, man. They are all about it. They learned from China. It's going to slowly roll out from here. I mean, it's actually rolling out faster than I expected, but
Right.
here we are, man. That guy's hand hasn't even hit the Bible, and they're already pro-communist,
Yeah.
doing all of the tactics that every other communist socialist regime has ever done.
Mhm. Yeah. So I mean, it's all going down to follow the same line that what happened to Alex Jones.
Yep,
So he was banned from everything. I'm talking about everything.
everything.
Same thing with Trump. He is banned. So let's take a look. I have a little snippet here, but there's much more he's banned on.
Yeah,
All right, so here he is: Facebook banned, Twitter, Google, Spotify,
yep.
Snapchat,
Shopify.
Instagram,
Yeah,
Shopify, Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest.
absolutely.
I mean, of course, some of these companies are owned by the other company, but
Right. There's a lot of tied in together stuff going on up there.
so yeah, so here he is. I mean, so now he's being banned by banks now. Did you hear about that?
Yes, and being able to process credit cards at the Trump hotels.
Yes.
So this is a very focused attack on not only he's a current sitting president, so technically he's still got time left as sitting president. If the Democrats can, I can't imagine they can get their impeachment together this fast. And it's literally like a show. Like all of this has been, to me, a show. We talk about, everything that went on in the Capitol. It looked awfully showman-like to me. I'm just saying. But, now that they're going after Parler, right? So all this time we heard Twitter and Facebook can ban us and they can silence us and give us strikes and community strikes and all this stuff. And they said, you know what? If you don't like it, go somewhere else. So we did. And we went to Parler.
Yeah, everybody went to Parler. It's like a herd.
And they shut it down.
They shut them down. It's like, big cattle herd, just move them over there, shut it down. They're going to move them somewhere else. They're going to shut that down. I mean, these tech monopolies have to be broken up.
It's horrible because, like, listening to, I think we have a video of John Matz, the CEO from Parler, saying that, he even lost his legal team because the legal team now, this is where it really echoes China. So now it's everybody who touches this guy is going to be like on the blacklist where they won't deal with anyone else.
Right.
So now Parler has become an island for being a free speech platform.
Right.
So they basically gave him an ultimatum. They said, "You better regulate the speech on your platform,
Right.
or else." And then he laughed at him, and here he is. Amazon won't touch him. Apple won't touch him. His own lawyers won't touch him. He can't process payments. Patreon is now shutting people down that are conservative, so you can't even get donations. GoFundMe, you
Right.
can't even start a GoFundMe for a conservative cause.
No, no,
Unbelievable.
and they're banning people. Whoever was at the Capitol, they're banning people.
Yeah.
Cash Kelly was at the Capitol. He might go to jail because he didn't tell his parole officer he was going to go. You know, he was in a
Yep.
he was was in jail for a little while, and he turned conservative, black patriot. So anyway, let's take a look and see what Pollard had to say.
Okay.
They all worked together to make sure at the same time we would lose access to not only our apps, but they're actually shutting all of our servers off tonight, off the internet. So they made an attempt to not only kill the apps, but to actually destroy the entire company. And it's not just these three companies. Every vendor from text message services to email providers to our lawyers all ditched us too on the same day. And we're going to try our best, to get back online as quickly as possible, but we're having a lot of trouble because every vendor we talk to, says they won't work with us because if the Apple doesn't approve and Google doesn't approve, they won't. Yes, Amazon is the largest cloud storage vendor in the world, and we use them to host our servers, hundreds of servers. And they gave us they said, you have 24 hours to get all of your data and to find new servers. So, where are you going to find 300 to 500 servers in a 24-hour window, and how can you send all of the data from everybody out to them in a 24-hour period? It's an impossible feat that, we're going to handle as best we can to get back online as quickly as possible. But, there's just some things that are almost basically impossible.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I used to own a small company, and we changed servers, and I mean, we're very small, and it took us a month to do that. There's no way
Yeah.
Parler could have done it in 24 hours.
No, and that's the other thing. So you got a company like Amazon who's government contracted. Like, this is another thing that like no one wants to really talk about above the waterline, where it's like Amazon's got $900 billion worth of contracts with everybody, the Department of Defense. I mean, they do the cloud services for the government. So I mean, listen, I get it that they're hand in hand with the government, but the illusion that they're this private company making this decision, I think, is nonsense. I think this decision came from a certain angle, and it was like, look, everybody else is doing it. You better play along too.
Right.
And the really messed up part of it is that Parler was a platform that, was just getting started. And honestly, the people that were on Parler, like in the beginning, like I started a Parler, at a certain time, and I started to notice that Twitter was getting really terrible at what they chose to limit. So the people that were on Parler from the beginning, they were fine. There's no act of violence. There was no people threatening anything. What you notice is when the mass exodus came over to Parler, that's when all these freaking spooks came over. And I say spooks, I mean these CIA MFers. They make these fake accounts, and then they start posting the threats and the violence. This way, Parler looks bad, and people can screenshot this, screenshot that. Look at this guy on your platform. I mean, this is the ultimate, like, slipping the evidence in somebody's pocket and then busting them. So I don't believe for a second that Parler even needed this level of, like governmental intervention. This was all a plan. And honestly, I think 99% of this is planned. Everything from the Capitol insurrection on down. This is all BS.
Yeah, the Capitol Police let them in and barricades. They were going in between the lines. We have video of that. We're going to show that later on. But yeah, it's definitely, fishy here.
This is a show, and
Yeah.
I want to say one thing, like to some of our patriots out there watching, don't take the bait for this stuff. You see some of this stuff online. It's like 50 state capitol protest. Bring your guns. Absolutely, do not bring your guns, because what we learned from Kyle Rittenhouse is that when you have an exposed firearm, you can get in a situation where somebody tries to take it from you, and you just turned into a split-second life or death moment. And now you have to shoot that person or they will shoot you. So us showing up with guns to any state capitol is a stupid idea, and we really have to play our cards on the smart side, not the emotional side. Everybody's so emotional saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. If we're not effective, we're just out there touting guns and giving them a reason to take them away.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to tell you this at the end of the show, but yeah, I mean, this is a setup because supposedly after we go after those 50 states, people will die. Biden supposedly is supposed to do a Patriot Act 2. We're going to round us up.
Right, round us up.
Anybody with a red hat, like I have on right now, would be rounded up and probably taken to a re-education camp.
Exactly, like China, like anybody, all the dissidents in China. I mean, you had a CEO of a major company speak out against the CCP. He's in a re-education camp. Doesn't matter that he's a billionaire. He's in a re-education camp.
He disappeared.
Yeah, but that they're saying he's in a camp.
Yeah, there's no telling where he could be camp. He could be dead. We don't know.
Hey, if he's got good kidneys, he's alive.
Oh yeah, definitely. They'll harvest those things.
Absolutely.
All right, and then we got, I didn't think this was possible, but, Sean Hannity was banned from Olive Garden, the lifetime pasta pass.
Yeah, and that is messed up because years ago, Olive Garden said to him, all you have to do is mention our restaurant and you got free pasta for life. He held up his end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, I know this is funny, but, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean,
it's
just going down a crazy world.
And honestly, I mean, the whole thing started back, and we played this two shows ago, 10 shows ago, 10 shows before that. Maxine Waters and her stupid crew of low IQ Democrats, they were out there screaming to hassle people in restaurants and get in their faces and don't let them eat in peace and all this stuff. Everybody's taking little pieces of this and going down the road with it. And they started it. That's the funny part. Like, the claims of insurrection started with the Democrats.
Yes.
They started the mobs. They started the people on a
Antifa,
violent...
the BLM,
right.
All of them burning down stuff. I mean, I tell you, if BLM or Antifa took over the Capitol, the place would be on fire.
Which it was all summer long. Like in June, I have the picture. I
thought that the actual Capitol would have been on fire.
Absolutely, they would have burned everything.
Right.
But I think part of it was they knew that if they could let enough Trump supporters in there for the photo op, which to me it looked like a photo op, and the rowdies went first, and the rowdies got in front, and they got all the footage they needed, then miraculously, a Capitol that was supposed to have a staff of 300, when the House and the Senate are in the Capitol, a staff of 300, 67 on that day. Sounds about right. Yes. Not.
Well, so they're banning everybody, all the conservatives. I don't know how long we're going to be on. We were banned for 2 weeks, by the way, and that happened during the Christmas time. So, but we're back. But who knows how long? Because this show is probably going to ban what we're talking about here. So, just a few minutes ago, by the way, I got to say this about what Trump told Pence on January the 6th. You can either go down in history as a patriot, or you can go down in history as a pussy. I don't know if I can say that on air, but I did. So,
well, we know which one he chose. Honestly, he chose to keep his bread buttered. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go to the impeachment. So they're definitely going forward with impeachment. It's happening on Wednesday to vote, supposedly.
Yeah.
So
it's a show.
Mitch McConnell today came out and said he's for it now. He wants him out of the Republican Party, so he can't run again. So supposedly they're going to put something in this clause in this impeachment that he can never run again in office ever.
It doesn't even matter, honestly. The Republican Party is completely shot after this. From just talking to people on the ground, from what they did and their spineless acts, no one is even going to vote. And it's sad but there's talks of another party being born right now as we speak. They're talking about, it's called the Patriot Party,
Right.
and it's basically all they need is the bodies, because no Trump supporter is going to vote for guys like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham
Right.
and what's his face. I mean, there's a million of them. I can't even think right now. My head's a fog. But these guys don't even realize how bad they appeared.
Yeah.
So their total base is gone. I don't know why Mitch McConnell's trying to save the GOP, because it's done.
Right. I mean, we have a video here we're going to show, and a Democratic from Pennsylvania was saying bad on Mitch McConnell, but he's for the impeachment. I don't know why she even say that, but let's take a look at this video, okay?
Okay.
I want to read you some news that broke just when we were getting ready to come back out of our break. Senator Mitch McConnell is now pro-impeachment, saying this in the New York Times. Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, has told associates he believes President Trump committed impeachable offenses and is pleased that Democrats are moving to impeach him, believing that it will make it easier to purge him from the party. That's according to people familiar with his thinking. Does that help you get some Republicans on board that Mitch McConnell thinks it's a good idea to purge Trump from the Republican Party?
Shame on Mitch McConnell. What Mitch McConnell should do is call the Senate back to the Capitol to prepare to receive the articles of impeachment that we will send over. They should prepare for a speedy trial and absolutely excise this cancer from our country, let alone a party. This isn't about a party. This isn't about politics. This is about protection of our Constitution, of our rule of law. This man is an infection, deadly infection, and Mitch McConnell and others, shame on them.
Congresswoman, do you feel like the vote on impeachment will be bipartisan?
We have word that it will be. You saw overwhelming numbers of Democrats who are original co-sponsors. I'm one too. And we have word of at least an important handful of Republicans. So the measure will definitely pass. But this is a moment. This is a reckoning for the Republican members of the House to say, where was I at this time in our history when our Capitol was attacked, when a riotous mob incited by the president, incited by his lies and those around him who have lied for months and years, came in search of assassinating the speaker, hanging the vice president, hunting down members of Congress. These folks need to figure out, do they believe in their sworn oath of office? If not, resign.
There we go. So,
Communist.
I mean, you can see the hatred, can't you?
Absolutely. And the one thing also too about communism, I heard a couple people talking about it today. They thirst for power and they can't wait to use it, and they love to just pick and choose who they're going to use it on. And I mean, this is it. This is how the republic dies. Constitutional protections die, and this is when you get mob rule, where now they are a mob-like party, like the CCP, that has no restriction. There's no brakes on this train, man. This train is just hauling towards the destruction of the United States.
Well, word is, again, they're going to come out with an Insurrection Act, a Patriot Act 2. They're gonna come out and come get us with our guns.
Absolutely.
We can't have guns, of course, if we're domestic terrorists. So they're going to come after our guns. They're going to come after us before the Great Reset happens in the third quarter.
Yep. As they bankrupt this country, like I said, this train has no brakes. And if we're the only resistance, they make example out of the big boys, which they're doing with Trump and putting sitting senators on no-fly lists.
Right.
I mean, what they could do with the COVID vaccinations, whether you can go to work or not, whether you get it. I mean, this is all playing out like a movie.
Yeah, definitely. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid that 2020 is going to be small compared to 2021.
It's looking that way. They are rolling like a roller coaster into this. It's funny. I know we have a video of Arnold, but I'll wait till we play that video to talk about the comparisons they try to make, and it's actually they're reversing it on themselves.
Right. It's always reverse.
Yeah, it's bad.
So let's take a look. Let's see what Trump said today. Looking at Trump, he's not going to do martial law. So those people are hoping for martial law. This won't happen, unfortunately. But let's take a look and see what he said.
Yep.
Before we begin, I'd like to say that free speech is under assault like never before. The 25th Amendment is of zero risk to me, but will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration. As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for. The impeachment hoax is a continuation of the greatest and most vicious witch hunt in the history of our country, and is causing tremendous anger and division and pain, far greater than most people will ever understand, which is very dangerous for the USA, especially at this very tender time. And now I'd like to briefly address the events of last week. Millions of our citizens watched on Wednesday as a mob stormed the Capitol and trashed the halls of government. As I have consistently said throughout my administration, we believe in respecting America's history and traditions, not tearing them down. We believe in the rule of law, not in violence or rioting. Because of the pandemic, horrible, horrible, invisible enemy, and despite our tremendous success developing a vaccine years before it was thought evenly remotely possible. Nobody thought it was going to be possible. They said it would take 5 years. Sir, it will take 7 years. All of our scientists were saying, our advisors, it will take 7 years, 5 years, 10 years maybe. Well, we did it just like I said we would, and we had it out years and years before they thought it was possible. And we're now delivering it to states, including your state, where your governor and government are doing a terrific job in getting it administered. Texas and Florida is doing great. Some of them are doing great. Some aren't doing as well, but they have all they can handle, and we get it to them as fast as they need it, and even faster. But they're calling it a medical miracle, and this has been a difficult year and a very difficult election. The pandemic has made it a very, very difficult year for our country and virtually every country all over the world. Now is the time for our nation to heal, and it's time for peace and for calm, respect for law enforcement and the great people within law enforcement, so many are here, is the foundation of the MAGA agenda. And we're a nation of law, and we're a nation of order. That is why we're here today to talk about what we must do to uphold the rule of law in America and how we must continue to support our law enforcement heroes, which is exactly what you are. Do you feel like a hero? Yeah, I think you do, right? You do, and you are.
All right, so that's what he said today. So no martial law is going to happen. So, somebody said on Twitter, I'm going to read this to you. If the United States saw what the United States is doing to the United States would invade the United States to liberate the United States from tyranny of the
Exactly.
United States. So,
I honestly, I agree with that. Like, for the things that we've done all over the world,
right.
if we saw something like this going on, we would already have an aircraft carrier off the coast of New York City.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we'd say, hey, change your rules or else,
Exactly. We're coming in if you don't fix this. I mean,
Yeah.
the funny thing is, honestly, like from an outsider view, I heard this guy, he's Australian, and he's talking about today, who doesn't have a stake in the United States staying afloat? Okay, so like there's certain people who are heavily invested in the United States, and he said when you look at Congress, the investments that they are making, and this guy's like apparently in overseas, like when people want to hide where their investments go, they deal with him. This is how he knows this.
Right.
He said these congressmen are invested in the failure of the United States. They're globalists. These senators are globalists.
Yes.
So like they don't have a vested interest in keeping this country afloat. They're okay with destroying it and just reaping the benefits from the outside in.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there
They
have
don't
to be
care.
a reset because the United States is the dollar-dominated world
Yep.
currency. So once they reset everything, everybody will be one, and then China,
Yeah.
they can do whatever they want. They don't care about United States.
Nope. And honestly, I mean that scenario we talked about a few shows ago where China controls the West Coast and Russia sees us as weak and controls the East Coast, and all we have is a little zipper up the middle of the former United States.
Right. Yeah, UN is East Coast, China is West Coast. Russia takes over back Alaska. Of course, Sarah Palin can see it from her house, and
She-
then and then we're up the middle, make America great again, I guess.
I mean,
Um,
it's the other I want to say ironic thing about this is that the Biden administration, he's not even here yet, and you got North Korea is having nuclear parades. Iran is already cheering in the streets. Death to America all over again, whatever. No one's scared of Joe Biden.
yeah,
If we ever get invaded on this soil, it'll be under Biden.
yeah. Well, if you go to Twitter and type in Ayatollah, Khomeini, he's on there. I mean, he's still
He's
on
allowed
Twitter.
on.
He can
Yeah.
issue death to America, but he's,
Yeah.
Trump's gone now.
And Trump's gone. And honestly,
and
like,
about 100,000 other people.
you know what else is on Twitter? Pornhub. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, like, you can have porn on Twitter, but you can't have the president of the United States who just, he's been tweeting all along. It's not like this recent tweet storm is any different.
Yeah, yeah. It's he's dangerous.
Unbelievable, man. These times, I'm glad that, this is all recorded. I mean, whether this gets taken down or not, I'm talking about historically.
Right.
Everything these idiots, Democrats, put on paper, it goes into history. And unless these Democrats in the future burn down the National Archives, this is not going to fare well for them. The 116th and 117th Congress is going to be the worst in actual U.S. history
Right.
as far as everything that they've done. The abuse of power is blatant.
Yeah, when you look back 20 years from now, they're going to say, "What in the
Holy-
world is going on?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi would be one of the biggest villains to ever occupy an elected office.
Yeah, they'll probably make a movie out of some horror flick or something.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's take a look. We're going to do Joe Scarborough first, and then we'll go to Arnold. How about
He's
that?
so level-headed. I mean, I love Joe.
Oh yeah, he's the best, isn't he?
Yeah.
Let's take a look and see what he said.
Yeah.
If these insurrectionists were black, they would have been shot in the face. And my God, if these insurrectionists were Muslim, they would have been sniped from the top of buildings. So I want to know from the Capitol Hill police, what is it? Is it just white people? Or is it Donald
taking a
Trump
selfie.
supporters? Why do you scream at people
What a
for walking
production.
across the street 3 blocks away from the Capitol? Why are you known as badasses around the Capitol? But then Trump supporters come in and you open the fucking doors for them. You open the doors for them and let them breach the people's house. What is wrong with you?
There we go. So, don't you love the guy?
I mean, he's just so level-headed. He always says such intelligent things. But you know what rings true about all of these guys? These Democrats think of everything. I got to say this. So it's like they start bringing up like, oh, if these were black guys, they would have been shot on sight. They would have never made it into the Capitol. Well, doesn't that show you that this was an orchestrated event, that they were supposed to make it in, and all the photographers were there? I don't know if you saw in that last picture. These guys got zoom lenses this long. There's smoke. They got lighting. I mean, this was an unbelievable show, a production, a complete production. The lower Capitol Police, the fact that they were like, guys, wait, don't break anything yet. Come through these velvet ropes here,
Yeah,
this way.
They were letting him. He's right about that. They did let him in.
They let him right in. And it's not because the Capitol Police like white people better. It's because they were supposed to do it.
Yeah.
This is orchestrated.
Well,
This is not like when Black Lives Matter was outside of D.C., they were burning privately owned businesses and destroying cars. I mean, the National Guard was called in then because they didn't know when they would stop. They went on a siege for 30 days.
Let's play the video of how the Trump supporters came in and show that real quick, and then we'll show back in 2017 during inauguration as far as what happened there. So let's take a look.
That wasn't an insurgency.
No. So let's just bring this up here.
All right.
So there we go.
It looks like they're going into a movie.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to a tour.
Yeah. Like, right this way, guys, the 315, hurry.
Yeah, like they're going to just go through the ropes and not
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, all the statues are still standing.
You'll see
There's no spray paint.
they're not spray painting the statues. They're not tearing them down like BLM or Antifa. Look at the Capitol Police. They're just ushering
There
them
they
in.
are. Yeah. Unbelievable insurrection. What a dangerous insurrection that was.
So let's take a look at 2017. This is during the inauguration of Donald J. Trump. Let's take a look.
Yep, January 20th.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking.
Wrong one. Let's go to the next one.
That's okay.
No one wanted to just show up and just show out. Like, there was a definite message about disrupting the inauguration.
We certainly attended with an obvious attempt to disrupt the inauguration, specifically because of the rising fascism of Trump.
That day cemented what solidarity looks like.
We were eventually kettled on a corner of 12th and L Street in downtown DC.
And then we were just arrested one by one.
You're gonna be in jail. Like, that's another world you have to process and readjust yourself to. And we were not about to go there.
There we go. So they tore down buildings, they set people on fire, they spray painted everything, and all the charges were dropped.
All the charges were dropped, and I mean I think the one thing that stood out to me is that they were resisting Trump's inauguration, and they destroyed a third of Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really relate to what happened in the Capitol building at all. I mean, if one's an insurrection, then so's the other one. So why aren't they all being charged and sent to Guantanamo?
Exactly. I mean, it's the double
it's
standard.
Double standard. Double standard all the way. And when you know, I know we probably have another video of people are like, see, if these, you know, if this was BLM, they would have got rubber bullets and tear gas.
Right.
Sure. Because the Capitol was supposed to happen. That's why. It was orchestrated, planned, and these people were in on it. I don't care what anybody says. The Capitol Police are not just going to go like this if they're not supposed to be in there.
Right. Let's take a look at the generous inciting riots on TV. They should all be banned from Twitter and all social media. Let's take a look.
Sure.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists, and they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show up.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's, no organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I don't care that much about statues.
Shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
You're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
Most of the major movements in American history have started at the grassroots level and at some point have turned into direct conflict with American government. So remember your history before you judge your present.
Thuggishness is thuggishness wherever it comes from politically, and we should be the first to call it out.
I disagree.
There we go. So there's big difference. I mean, they were putting things on fire, killing people, you name it.
$3.8 billion worth of damage the summer of love. And this is why stuff like my insurance went up. because lunatics like that thought lighting their next door neighbor's business on fire was a great idea.
Right. So compared to the Capitol, protest, I would call it, it's a huge difference.
Hey, listen, people got out of hand, and guess what? People died. I mean, the one cop died. Now there's some kind of, thing that he had already had some issues, and, he did get hit with a fire extinguisher, and I don't want anybody to die, let alone a guy who's trying to defend the Capitol, but there were people shot too. So, like, the people that got out of line kind of got, their asses handed to them. And the people that were walking through the velvet ropes and took the selfies, they got in and they got out. But the weird thing is watching these congressmen act like this is the worst thing anyone's ever done in the history of this country. Which it's not. It's not even close, not even remotely close. But the worst thing that's ever happened to democracy, the Democrats did.
Right.
So you can understand why these patriots are upset, because we've exhausted every avenue of legal discourse. We literally tried to do it the civil way. So this whole thing, they really don't have a choice but to start rounding everybody up, because we're not going to sit and watch this happen again if they don't fix the voting. I mean, this is a huge problem.
Right. And on top of that, all the corporations are banning Republican donations, so they're not going to donate to Republican Party again. I mean, there's a list of people. A list of corporations just not giving at all to Republican cause, only for Democrats.
That's what I'm telling you. So, like, I hate to say it, there's really, in my opinion, only about 24 who I would call staunch Republicans. Everybody else has shown their true colors during this whole thing. Right. So, I mean, the GOP is walking on eggshells with its base. I'm being honest with you. And if they can't fund, the Patriot Party is probably going to become a reality.
Yep. So you saw the riots there in 2017 when Trump got inaugurated. No one was charged. I know we're going to play Arnold in a minute. But I got to go to this next. The acting U.S. attorney in D.C. Let's take a look and see what he said today.
All right.
But what the public isn't familiar with is that the FBI, working with the U.S. attorney's offices across the country, and the crux of those being in D.C., we're looking at significant felony cases tied to sedition and conspiracy. Just yesterday, our office organized a strike force of very senior national security prosecutors and public corruption prosecutors. Their only marching orders from me are to build seditious and conspiracy charges related to the most heinous acts that occurred in the Capitol. And these are significant charges that have felonies with prison terms of up to 20 years.
All right, so there you go. So 20 years, they're going to put him in jail for 20 years for walking through the Capitol, and those other ones, they just let go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if somebody hurt another person, I'm fine with there being whatever charges go with that, because I think assault's assault. Right. And if you went through the doors that were already opened by Capitol Police and you walked through the velvet ropes and you took a selfie by, the statue of George Washington, 20 years? Sorry, man. It doesn't add up to me. This is selective justice. And once again, I think it's a show. It's a show. Like, we are all watching this. It's not even close to reality. It doesn't even mirror something that we used to understand. The legal system, the justice system, the fact that some rioters are, okay to burn and loot and kill. David Dorn was killed, stomped to death by people on the street. You know what I mean? And this is the thing, like, here we go again, where it's the new Charlottesville. We're going to demonize Trump supporters. They got the photo op. They got the guy with the Confederate flag. They got the guy holding this. This guy's over here. I mean, even the congresswoman with the gas mask on took a selfie. I mean, I saw her with the front. This is such a stupid thing that we're watching.
Yeah, I mean, those people who cause death to somebody else, They
Yeah,
should
I'm
be
sorry. You need to
prosecuted.
be charged.
But
Yeah,
and also that Capitol Police officer should be charged for killing that woman too as well.
exactly.
She was
There should
unarmed.
be some charges.
Yeah.
Some people should. You really went outside the guidelines. I mean, the guys that were smashing windows to get in, you could have just waited because Capitol Police opened the doors
Yeah, but
5 minutes
man, they're
later.
waving them in.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you didn't have to smash the windows. And I saw the video, and we showed it. There was one guy who was banging on the glass. A Trump supporter came out of the crowd and grabbed him and said, "Stop breaking the glass, you idiot!"
Right.
So I mean, it's not like all these people were motivated to destroy the Capitol. They were very pissed. And I mean, I'm also starting to see like there's this photo of this gallows hanging with the noose hanging down, and they're saying it was for Pence and all that stuff. That could very well be another one of these photo ops where, these people pose as like Trump supporters and they show up and they do these things to make people look bad. Like I said on Parler was fine until it started to blow up. And when Parler blew up and got 6 million people in 2 days, all of a sudden there's all these new accounts that are saying we need to chop heads off at the Capitol. We need to burn it. I mean, these people were brand new to the Parler. So this is an implant just like everything else. I mean, none of this is even real. And I don't want patriots to get so upset and so emotional that they do stupid things. Right. And then the rest of us get punished. I don't want to get rounded up for my guns. Honestly, I want to wait until I'm absolutely necessary to use that weapon. I'm not going to go parading down the Capitol Street with my AR. That's not happening.
No. So let's take a look at Arnold. Arnold was talking about the differences between him growing up in Nazi-occupied territory and, of course, United States, Trump. So there's no comparison. Let's take a look and see what he said.
Okay.
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans and to our friends around the world about the events of recent days. Now, I grew up in Austria. I'm very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 by the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys. Wednesday was the day of broken glass right here in the United States. The broken glass was in the windows of the United States Capitol. But the mob did not just shatter the windows of the Capitol, they shattered the ideals we took for granted. They did not just break down the doors of the building that housed the American democracy, they trampled the very principles on which our country was founded. Now, I grew up in the ruins of a country that suffered the loss of its democracy. I was born in 1947, 2 years after the Second World War. Growing up, I was surrounded by broken men drinking away their guilt over their participation in the most evil regime in history. Not all of them were rabid anti-Semites or Nazis. Many just went along, step by step, down the road. They were the people next door. Now, I've never shared this so publicly because it is a painful memory.
My God, he beat me.
But my father would come home drunk once or twice a week, and he would scream and hit us and scare my mother. I did not hold him totally responsible because our neighbor was doing the same thing to his family, and so was the next neighbor over. I heard it with my own ears and saw it with my own eyes. They were in physical pain from the shrapnel in their bodies and in emotional pain from what they saw or did. It all started with lies and lies and lies and intolerance. So being from Europe, I've seen firsthand how things can spin out of control. I know there is a fear in this country and all over the world that something like this could happen right here. Now, I do not believe it is, but I do believe that we must be aware of the dire consequences of selfishness and cynicism. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. He sought a coup.
Oh, I gotta stop it there. So
can't take it. He doesn't realize that he's actually highlighting. He's trying to equate Kristallnacht into this Capitol uprising, but he's highlighting what the Democrats are doing. He's comparing, us to Nazis when the Democrats are actually acting like Nazis, choosing to grab one portion of the population, demonize them, and literally, like, you know, round them up, ruin their lives and all that stuff. And before Hitler, you know, Kristallnacht or whatever, he had this band of brown shirted dudes who would just go out and beat people up at political events.
Antifa.
I mean, he's describing the Democrats to a T.
Yeah, and also don't forget now, you gotta equate this. You know how the conservatives are being banned throughout social media, the burning of the books and
burning of the books. They canceled Hawley's book.
Yeah, you can't read a book. You can't go with other, you know, points of view. You have to burn them.
And it's so weird that the liberals are so quick to point out Nazism and to point out communism and stuff like that and fascism and try to direct it, you know, in my direction. And I laugh because none of it sticks, because everything that they're accusing the patriots they're doing.
Yeah, and worse.
This is unbelievable that they have the balls to make believe that any of this has any weight, and none of it does.
Yeah, so we have a Jewish patriot too on the video where he's talking about how it's gone crazy. Let's just take a look and see what he said.
All right.
Good morning, America. It's going to be some party going forward. I was wrong about so many things, including a lot of things I gave you encouragement about in these little videos. I didn't really appreciate just how bad it got. Just how bad they would let it get. Just how many people could be so wicked. I was a schmuck. We're not going to be schmucks anymore, are we? I don't see how we can, right? There's not really that option. You know, things are going to have to change. Things and our attitudes and our whole relationship with the system are really going to have to change. I'm prepared to change them. Now, my ability and enthusiasm for changing them is pretty limited by my lack of wealth, by my age, by the fact that I'm a lawyer, which makes me very much a part of the system. So I won't be throwing any bombs. I won't be joining any coups. But this isn't going to work. We're going to have to change the way we communicate, change the way we organize, change the way we think. This might be the last video of mine you ever see. That's why I'm doing it so early. Who knows when they're going to ban me today or ban you? Who cares? We've done everything we can. I know I have, within my meager abilities. It's going to be a different ballgame now. Watch how much fun opposition can be, even now. Have a great day.
All right, so there he is. So, yeah, I mean, and that was a few days ago. That was before all the banning. He's probably gone now.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I would honestly be in fear if I was Jewish, because the Democrats have shown more anti-Semitism and more encouragement of anti-Semitism than ever. So once again, like, they keep trying to push the Nazi thing over in this direction, and you got Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, who basically want to kill Jews and bomb Israel. I mean, this is something that I think if you are Jewish and you are a Democrat, you really have to reconsider that line that you drew years ago, whether it still sticks, because they are slowly fading into anti-Semitism a little bit more every election. It's terrible.
It is terrible. I mean, you know, Trump's son-in-law is Jewish. I think Ivanka's just turned Jewish as well. Their family's
He's the
Jewish.
most pro-Israel,
And they're going to call him, you know, racist and stuff. So it's unbelievable.
None of it sticks. Like, you know, I've been called racist just because I'm a conservative, just because I support Trump. And I ask people that say it, like, what are you basing that on? And they never have an answer. It's always just like, I just know he's racist. He's just racist. Okay, what did he say? He's enlighten me. It's
your white privilege.
That too. I mean, I carry that around, man, like a big stick. I tell you, it's really working out for me.
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, me and you with the big houses and stuff like that. You know, we're just
man.
white privilege.
Well, I just helicoptered into my mountain villa, so it is pretty nice.
Yeah, I just flew on my private jet too, as well, with my white privilege.
I mean, it's really working out for us. I mean, when we're being rounded up in black vans and getting hit over the head 6 months from now, we'll see how the white privilege thing pans out.
All right. All right. Well, that's the show tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. From banning everybody to, impeachment. It's definitely going to happen. The impeachment's going to happen on Wednesday. They're going to vote for it in the House. Then it's going to go to the Senate, and who knows? If Mitch McConnell wants it, it might just happen.
It's all a show. Our Olympus has fallen. Our government is a show. It's puppets on a stage.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate you watching tonight. Be safe out there. We might have to go in the bunker next show, but we'll see what happens. And you have a good evening. See you, Bill.
Good night, everyone.